Namaste. Knowing and learning, are they the same? This is $1,000,000 question. For a long time in our schools and colleges, we've been used to looking at learning as knowing. It has been a cognitive activity. This has always bothered us. In the adult world, the way learning is looked at and the way learning is purposed is totally different. In fact, I trained as a metallurgist. I used to work with materials, and for a long time, I couldn't figure out that I was not really working with materials. I was actually working with their properties. Long years of working with materials taught me a very important set of similarities between the way men and materials behave. It's strikingly similar. Let me call out one by one. The first similarity between men and material is that both of them are liked, appreciated for their properties. Many of us wear gold. Do you think we love gold? Not at all. We love the property of gold, which is not to tarnish. The fact that gold hates oxygen makes it shiny all the time, and that's why we love it. We have no love for gold. I can test it immediately. Do you know what's the density of gold or its molecular weight? Not at all. But you'll proudly wear gold because you like the property. This is a similarity. Same way, we work with people because we like their properties. The second interesting similarity is most of us, we do not want to change our properties, but we want to change others' properties. How do you achieve that? Changing someone's properties is not easy. People don't change that easily. If a change has to happen in the properties of people, then it is important that something very significant has to change inside them. In the material, it is a structure, maybe the way the crystals are arranged or the way they are transformed. And in people, the change is usually in the form of beliefs, in the form of thought processes, in the form of muscle memory, etc., etc. The third and the most interesting thing is, if you want to change the properties, we know that something inside has to change, but such change cannot be done directly. It has to be done very indirectly by creating an environment around it. I'll give you an example. In the last 100 years, you have seen steel being one of the greatest materials that has transformed our civilization. But go back to nature. How does iron exist in nature? Iron exists as its oxide. In other words, iron and oxygen are a couple pretty much married to each other. They love each other so much. But when they are together, do you like their properties? Not at all. Iron ore is brown dirt, which practically is useless to us. Therefore, we want to separate iron and oxygen. How do we do that? You cannot beat them to separate from each other, and therefore, we use a very clever tactic. And that tactic comes from a foundational understanding that oxygen loves iron with its full heart at room temperature. But at 850 degrees centigrade, oxygen loves carbon a lot more than iron. This information is very important for us to separate iron and oxygen. So the moment you create 850 degrees environment and bring carbon closer to iron ore, what happens now? Automatically, oxygen leaves iron and runs towards carbon. We're not doing anything. We've created an appropriate environment, and the change that we want happens automatically. Now, we keep doing this, and at about 1550 degrees centigrade, iron is molten. We tap it, we solidify it, and after that, iron becomes our slave. Now, similarly, while working with people, it is very important to create conducive learning environments that make the change we want in properties or behavior. Human properties are popularly called as behavior. And learning engineering is about creating appropriate environments. To put it in a nutshell, if you want to force alignment, nothing much happens. But if you learn to align forces, everything you want happens effortlessly, permanently, and voluntarily. Now, that is the science that we have perfected in mentor learning. We call it result oriented learning engineering. If you want to engineer learning, then you create appropriate, conducive environments where the human being's natural energies are channelized to achieve the behavior change and get habituated to that. There have been giants who have guided us in this journey. There are 4 pillars to learning engineering. The works of these giants, Donald Kirkpatrick, who taught us how to measure effectiveness or how to design learning from outcomes. Benjamin Bloom, who helped us calibrate and categorize the way in which learning can be assessed or evaluated. And Robert Gagne, or the genius who taught us instruction design and how to break down instructions in a systematic way. And eventually, Dr. Maria Montessori. Many people think Maria is a kid's teacher, but Maria taught us the importance of learning with the head, the hand, and the heart together. So Maria's methods actually inspire us in most of our methodologies. We try to make adults into kids who learn with their full force and curiosity. That is the power of learning engineering. If you take a little deeper look at it, learning engineering draws its inspiration from 4 interesting disciplines. The first of all is neuroscience. The second is psychology. Third is behavioral economics, where we learned how nudges can change behaviors. And eventually, my alma mater, engineering, principles of engineering, where we break things down, structure things, and make sure that all of them are repeatable and they can be orchestrated. So in the learning engineering framework, pedagogy itself operates very differently. The teacher, the facilitator, is not the hero. The facilitator is actually a director in a film. You will never even see him. Sometimes you may not even hear of him, but then you will enjoy the film and go back with an experience. Learning engineering is our passion, and learning engineering therefore involves multiple layers of orchestrating human experience. The driving philosophy is, if you want someone to habituate to new behaviors, then you do 4 things. Enchant, bring the person in. Enthrall, create a joyful experience. And engage, allow and work with that person so that trial happens and muscle memory builds. And eventually ensure, measure and feedback to the person of the change that has happened. So all the doubts and disbeliefs, go away, and whatever they do becomes a natural part of what they do. And that, for you, is learning engineering. And at Mentor, we master this science and we keep evolving so that the experiences we create translate into habits. If you do result-oriented learning engineering, results are guaranteed. That's why we say engineering behavior, delivering results. Give us your people, we will transform your business. Welcome to Mental Learn.